Hey, what's going on, crew? It's your boy Serrano. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the BLU VIVO X6. As we have been using this phone for a couple of weeks now, and it has a 6.1 inch 1080 by 1920 pixel display. It has touchscreen curved glass display. Now the PPI on here, I haven't figured that out yet, but it has a 19:9 aspect ratio. It has a 64-bit 1.6 gigahertz octa-core processor, Cortex A55. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM. It has 64 gigabytes of internal storage. It's supposedly expandable up to 128 or 64, I'm not sure, but you do get dual SIM as well as SD card slot as well. Now, as far as the cameras, we're getting 13 megapixel with a depth sensor on the rear. It has LED flash. It does have touch focus, face detection, HDR, and panorama as well. On the front, we are getting a 13 megapixel camera too, which is kind of cool. It does have video recording up to 2160p and 1080 30 frames per second, so that's definitely pretty sick. You also get 720 60 frames per second, which is kind of cool. It also does come with the 9.0 operating system with a 4000 milliamp hour battery, which is non-removable, and it does quick charge at 10 watts, which is definitely pretty sick. Now, when it comes to using this thing in the real world, it actually was really nice to use. I didn't have any issues with it. The viewing angles were really nice. As you can see that I was using the autofocus on the camera on the rear, which was 1080 30 frames per second for video recording. And the autofocus was actually pretty cool as well. You also do get a barometer. Well, actually, you don't get a barometer, but you do get a gyroscope, fingerprint sensor, face unlock as well. You also get Google Assistant. You also do get 4000 milliamp hour batteries. As I said before, this thing was released and announced in January 2020 for the price of $99, which was kind of cool. This thing is unlocked. You'll be able to use it for Metro by T-Mobile as well as Cricket and any other GSM carriers as well. The Vivo X6 does have slow motion mode as well, and when it came to the cameras, honestly, I was actually really shocked that these things were producing some really good footage in low light. As you can see right here, there wasn't too many complaints when it came to the footage that I was getting in the night mode. I'm sorry, nighttime. And honestly, this thing definitely produced when it came to basically trying to push it to the max and see what the cameras were capable of. In the price point, it actually competed with a lot of phones in a higher bracket. Honestly, I could say that this phone did actually surprise me when it came to the cameras. But we were getting a really nice display as well. It was only 720, but it's actually really vibrant and colorful too. As far as the selfie shots and portrait shots, I was really impressed. When it came to the rear camera, that 13 megapixel did produce a lot of nice photos as well. You can see I was in the supermarket the other day, and I was doing a little bit of shopping on here, and I did notice that those cameras did produce just as I anticipated. When I threw the beauty mode on in the nighttime, it definitely raised the brightness on the photos, as you can see right here. So I was able to get really clear shots as well as bokeh shots with that portrait that they did have to offer on the front and rear, which was actually really fun to play around with, just to say the least. So you're going to be able to use this thing with 4G LTE. It's compatible with GSM carriers in the US, AT&T, T-Mobile, Cricket, Metro PCS, and a lot more. This thing does have a really nice display. You're going to be able to use a lot of games on it and download a lot of apps on it. It has a front-facing camera, which is really adequate as well. It's also powered by the chipset, which is a MediaTek, which is also paired with 3 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of internal storage, which is actually pretty cool. The only downside is that the build quality on this thing is made of plastic all the way around. There's no metal in it, but you do get dual SIMs as well as a dedicated SIM card nano slot. Now, when it came to the display type, it's an IPS LCD curved glass, which is 6.1 inches, as I said before, with a 19:9 ratio, and Android 9.0 Pie. Now, when it came to the graphics on this thing, we were getting MediaTek IMG 8322 processor, which I've never heard of before, but it's actually pretty cool. I did run Antutu, what is this thing called? Antutu. And you can see the scores here. Somebody had requested that. I don't really usually run that, but just because you requested it, I definitely try to, like, do everything that you guys request. So I included it in this video so you could take a look at the Antutu benchmark scores. I was playing PUBG on this thing, and just to tell you, I did get the chicken dinner on this game, which was kind of cool. So honestly, I could say that this thing I didn't have any issues with this thing. In the nighttime, the video was desirable, and so were the photos too. And you can see right here, there was a clear image when I was taking photos and videos on that rear facing camera. I didn't run into any issues when it came to low light testing or performance when it came to the rear camera and on the back of it. But even on the front facing camera, it was even better. This thing measured in at 170 grams of weight, which was really light. One of the things that was actually surprising about this thing is that you're going to be getting it for under $130. The price is going to fluctuate, which is really crazy because it goes from 99 to 130. But you should definitely check it out or purchase it as soon as you can before it jumps back up to 130. It's going to be there for a limited time. You get front glass, plastic body, and honestly, I could say that this is really cool right here. You can see that the rear facing camera is nice. I was actually commuting to work with my skateboard, but the front display is actually getting 276 pixels per inch, which is not that bad. You also do get a micro SD card dedicated slot, which is actually really cool, and you do get 2 separate SIM card slots, so it's not a hybrid, which is kind of sick. But yeah, you could get some slow motion effects as well as face ID, face unlock, and beautification face on the front facing camera. So when you're taking face shots, use the beauty mode when you're in real low light so you can get a more lighted shot. You could also go to the edit feature and like kind of edit your own to make it a little bit brighter. I did notice that I was getting brighter shots when I used the beauty mode. Now you are getting the 2.4 plus the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi on here, as well as Bluetooth 4.0. You get GPS support. You also do get a micro USB 2.0 as well, and on the go, which is basically when you use the OTG plug as well, but you don't get NFC. You get accelerometers. You also get a fingerprint sensor, which is cool. And the most important thing is a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Now this thing doesn't have a really large battery, which is a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, which I can say honestly lasts pretty good. I did plug this thing to the charger at least once. I don't like to charge my phone to 100%, so I actually charged it to 90, and I hit the 36 mark around like 7:30, 8 p.m. So I put it on the charger around that time, but it did last the whole day. I could have got through the whole day, but honestly, when it hits 30%, I always plug it back into the charger. But you are getting Octa-Core, which is 1.6 gigahertz Cortex A55 CPU, plus another 1.2 gigahertz A55 as well. The 3 gigabytes of RAM is plenty. I didn't have any issues with it. This phone got powered by the Power VR GE8322 GPU, which it's kind of up in the air whether it's that or the IMG one, but I'm pretty sure it's the IMG one. They're also giving you a lot of storage on this thing, 64 gigabytes of internal storage. The system only uses about 8 of that, which is kind of crazy because you're going to get a ton of storage throughout this device. You also do get a whole lot of cool features such as multitasking, where you could use the 2 different windows if you do so desire. But this thing just came out and this month, and it's actually surprising me. The pictures on this thing honestly take some really good shots, even in low light situations, as you can see right here. So I wasn't really complaining about that. When it came to the images that it was producing, honestly, they were a lot better than I expected from this thing. The weight on this thing was actually pretty decent. It wasn't too light, wasn't too heavy. What we were getting Android 9.0 Pie. We did get a nice bokeh effect with the cameras that were on the back of there, with the 13 megapixel plus the depth sensor on the back of it, which is kind of cool. Also, just to add, I honestly got through the whole day with this thing, and I could definitely say it could last the whole day when it comes to battery life. I'm definitely a heavy user. I do a whole lot of gaming. I was actually playing PUBG on this thing when I was throughout the whole day, so I was doing a whole lot of gaming on this thing, which kind of contributed to the me getting to the 36 mark in percentage. But if you found this video helpful in any way possible, definitely hit the like button. It's your boy Serrano. Make sure you stay locked in for more videos just like this. In the meantime, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, and depending on where you are, have a great night. Later, crew. Peace. I'll check you guys on the next one. Peace.